there we go. So I see we are live on YouTube now, so we'll start our second meeting of the evening. That's our regular town council meeting for April 19th, 2021. Start the meeting off, of course, as always, with item 1 and call the meeting officially to order. Move immediately on to 2, that's approval of tonight's agenda. Recommendation reads that the agenda for the council meeting of April 19th, 2021 be approved as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Shanker, seconded by Councillor Ostrander. Any discussion of the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. Item 3, declarations of interest. Any declarations from members of council this evening? Seeing no. Presentations under 4, we have none tonight. 5, delegations, ditto. Item 6, minutes of the previous council meeting, and that's under 6.1. We have our meeting minutes from April 6, 2021. That recommendation reads that the council minutes of April 6, 2021 be accepted as presented. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Shankar, seconded by Councillor Burton. Any discussion on that set of minutes from a couple weeks ago? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. And we do have another set of minutes tonight. That's under 6.2, minutes from our meeting last week, April 12th. Recommendation, of course, reads that the special council minutes of April 12, 2021 be accepted as presented. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Ostrander, seconded by Councillor Burton. Any discussion on that set of minutes from last week? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay. Item 7, communications and petitions. Nothing there this evening. 8, under consent reports. We do just have the information package there. Assuming no one will want to split off anything in there, but I'll give everyone that option before I go to the recommendation. Seeing no, so the recommendation reads that all items listed under the consent reports section of the agenda be accepted as presented, and that includes tonight solely the information package provided as always under separate cover. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor McConnell, seconded by Councillor Jansman. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. Item 9, committee reports. We do have one committee report tonight. That's under 9.1. That's PAC Report 05-2021. That's the Site Plan Control Agreement, Major 763 King Street West. Recommendation reads that council approve the Site Plan Control Agreement file number SPC 2017-763 King Street West, subject to the following conditions. 1, the balance of any outstanding taxes, including penalties and interest, shall be paid to the town of Prescott. 2, any charges in relation to improvement or development shall be paid to the town of Prescott. 3, any securities or other instruments needed to be provided to the town as a requirement of the site plan control agreement be submitted to the town prior to commencement of work and stay in effect during the entire process until a final decision is granted. And 4, that the agreement and schedules attached are registered on title. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Councillor Ostrander. And just want to make sure So Sean, comments on that?
Yes, unless otherwise requested by council, this went through PAC relatively painlessly. As you know, this is a complicated project, but by reaching out to both parties and making sure that we upheld the requirements of the OMB ruling, it results with the agreement that's in front of you tonight, with basically honoring the OMB agreement that was there, and it's the last step prior to the building permits being issued.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Mr. Merriman. I will allow Councillor Jansman as our PAC chair. Therese, any comments on this? It went rather smoothly after a bit of a rocky beginning.
Yes, you're right, Mayor Todd. Thank you. It took 2 meetings, but I think the game changer was the second meeting. All parties were present. And as Mr. Merriman mentioned, they are in an agreement, and the 2014 agreement is going to be withheld. And it was much, everybody was quite happy because everybody wants the same thing. So thankfully, all the potential issues were resolved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Open it up for other comments, questions from other members of council tonight. Seeing none, just want to echo what Councilor Jansman said. Glad we're at this point. And I guess, Sean, I understand we will be seeing the building permits and so forth. There is looking good that this will be developed shortly. We'll see some progress down there for the first time in a little while.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Excellent stuff. Any final comments before I call the question? All in favor? Oh, Councilor McConnell, do you have a comment?
A question, if I may, Mayor Todd. You mentioned the building permit would be issued, assuming we pass this. In conjunction with that, is the demolition permit going to be issued at the same time for the work inside the house?
It's all part of this. It's all part of the same permit, Councilor McConnell. A demolition truly only is issued when you're totaling it. They're just renovating it. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor McConnell. Any final comments before I call the vote? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone, and thanks to all parties involved there for working together on a shared proposal there and following that OMB agreement from 2014. Be great to see some progress on that site shortly. Item 10 tonight, Mayor, I'll forego that this evening just out of the agenda we do have. So we'll move right along to 11 outside boards, committees, and commissions. Go around the table as always, starting with Councilor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and I will forego mine as well. Thank you.
Councilor Jansman.
It's 10 to 8. I really, all good. Thanks.
Thanks. Councilor McConnell.
I just have a few dozen things I want to mention. No, I'm kidding. I'll join the group.
Thank you very much. Councilor Ostrander.
I've been too busy with council meetings to do anything else. Thanks.
Councilor Shankar.
Well, one thing, I just want to wish Councilor Ostrander a happy birthday today. And then we'll move on.
It was yesterday, but thank you. Yes.
Oh, well, close enough.
Happy birthday, Mike. 39 again.
Well, it's not every day it rolls around.
Thanks for mentioning that, Gory. And again, many happy returns, Mike.
Thank you.
Councilor
Nothing to report, Brett.
Okay, thanks everyone. That moves us along quickly this evening. So we do have a number of staff reports tonight. And so starting under item 12, staff 12.1 is staff report 37-2021. That's on road resurfacing for 2021. Lays out what's being done. If I could ask, just because this is always something the public's very interested in, Mr. Richard, do you want to just take us through what's happening there on a very quick and concise manner, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Todd. Through you. So this report kind of lays out the paving for 2021 in 3 different areas. And one would be major resurfacing, and minor resurfacing would be the next one, and then gravel shoulder maintenance. And the budget for this is mainly from the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund. The amount available this year is $267,000. So the major resurfacing, when we looked at the amount of funds, we said, well, it's best to, how do we utilize those funds in the most optimal way? And we priced it out with the town's civil contractor, which is Ken Miller Excavating. Their contracts do any of the work like this through the agreement that's in place. And there is certain prices per square meter, and it's based on kind of the volume, and the price per square meter goes down as you increase the amount of square meters that you pave. So we do have a map that's shown in the, I guess on the second page, that shows the inventory of the street condition from a third party that was done in 2019, I believe. And anything red is kind of in poor or very bad shape. There's kind of a red and a dark red. It's kind of hard to see on the map, but so as we look at that, Dibble Street certainly was one of them, and that's one that I think we see it's the construction activity started there in the last 2 weeks. East Street is slated to be reconstructed in 2024, and so again, what we want to do is maximize the funds to do as much work as we can. And so, looking at the roads and the surfaces, we looked at Wood Street East, James Street West, and the North and South Square came up as ones that were in very poor shape. And should be looked at soon, and even a part of East Street. even though it's coming up for reconstruction, it is in very poor shape in a section of it. So that represented almost $300,000 in total repairs. And that equates to 5,500 square meters of asphalt replacement and 700 meters of linear street, so almost 3/4 of a kilometer. So what we were thinking is to shore up some of the funding, because we have HydroCam is going to do another section of cleaning and of the sewers and camera inspection of the sewers. We will be able to save some money there and reallocate it from the storm sewer budget over to a pavement budget. Wood Street, just a note on it. It's a very, very poor street. It's squishy in spots actually. So there's going to need, the contractor identified that 2 layers of asphalt will be required there after they remove the one that's on the street now. And again, East Street is something that we would look at in 2024 as major reconstruction. The minor resurfacing is what we're looking at this year. Is some of the smaller spots that our staff can look at. We can rent equipment that's basically a big heater that can go on a section of 4 feet by 3 feet. We heat the section up, kind of melts down the asphalt to kind of a almost liquid state, 300 degrees, and then we can rake it, and then it kind of melts back into the existing asphalt. So that's called hot in place patching. We think it could be very effective in a lot of the different spots we have. So it's kind of like the best, like cold patch is kind of like the cheapest way to do something, but the least effective. And this is kind of at the higher end in small areas. And then it's excellent for doing around manhole covers and water shutoff covers. And then the gravel shoulder maintenance, that's something where we kind of mentioned, I think, in some of the other discussions this evening, where we're working with the township of adjacent to us. So one of them is working with Augusta, is working with their crew there that are probably get really tired of doing grading work on gravel roads and gravel shoulders, but experts at it. So they could come in and help us out with some of the areas that we've identified that the shoulders just maybe haven't been maintained in a while and could use some touch up and some extra gravel. And so that was Churchill Road, quite a section there. King Street East, I think you see there's a lot of pavement deterioration on the shoulders. I had Boundary on here, but I think that Boundary probably does need some work, but maybe not a grading. So I'm not sure if we're going to grade that, but we'll certainly look at it, make sure we're channeling the water a little bit better to get it down the road and into the storm sewers. And then there's a little stretch on McCully and a little stretch on Prescott Center Drive. And in that budget, we have about 4,000 for gravel. I'm not sure we use that all, but at least we've got a little budget there if we need some material. Again, the funding was 267,000 from the OSIP funding. And then some excess money coming from the catch basin budget being reallocated. And again, environmental implications, the hot in place patching, we can reuse existing or old asphalt and recycle it. So it's a very good way to kind of a green approach to repairing the roads. And again, we'll always make all of our efforts to reduce greenhouse gases while we do that project. That was it on that one.
Good stuff. Thanks very much. I know this is always of major interest to people at home, so good to go over what they can expect this spring, summer, and probably early fall. Any comments from members of council tonight on this plan as presented by Mr. Griffin? Councilor McConnell, please, and then Councilor Young.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. A question, actually, a note of clarification, if you could. Given the provincial announcement last week that wound up putting off limits around our play structures, and then that was countermanded the next day, there was a note about not essential construction. Perhaps you can clarify for us and those people watching if that is going to have any effect whatsoever on our road sewer construction this summer.
So the road construction project is considered an infrastructure project, major infrastructure, and I don't believe that certainly wouldn't fall under the prohibition, I guess, of construction that be completed at this time. And Matthew can kind of mention as well.
Mr. Armstrong, you had a further comment there?
So there was a specific exception for municipal projects, and in particular infrastructure projects. So we do not foresee that those will be delayed.
Very good. Then the suggestion that I had is I noticed that you were going to resurface the block of James Street West from St. Lawrence to Ann Street. I believe that's a complete resurface. Given the fact that Millers also have our sidewalk contract, could you have them look at that block to see whether there's any sections of sidewalk that are going to be removed, replaced within the next couple of years, and perhaps do them before you resurface the street, because there's always some disruption of the asphalt when they do the street. So that would make sense to me.
Yeah, we can certainly ask them to look at that and see if there's a kind of an economy of scale there to adding that to the project, and if it makes sense, yeah, certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor McConnell. Thanks, Mr. Richard. Councillor Young.
Thank you. Nathan, would you repeat what you said, please, about North Square?
So the north square and the south square, the two roads combined, one of them is in as far as the report went from the asphalt company or the paving inspection company. One side is in very, very poor shape and the other side is in poor shape. So it was, it's kind of one of those ones where you kind of, where do you do a portion of it now, or do remobilize the equipment later at a second point in time, or just you do it all at one point in time? And so that's sort of what we're recommending now, is just to go do the whole thing at once, and then it's done, and you don't have to come back and disrupt the community later.
Are we only talking paving or reconstruction?
This is just for paving.
Okay, I thought that particular area was on a list for complete reconstruction, sewer, sanitary, the whole bit.
Go ahead, Matthew, if you've got some.
According to our records, it's not going to be done in the next 15 to 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Any further comments? The only thing I will add, and just if you take a look at the map, it's actually, I mean, we obviously have some red areas and some yellow areas in town, but we do have a lot of green. And one thing I will note, like obviously this is going to be a major part of budgets and work infrastructure wise, the town of Prescott for quite a number of years to come, addressing these tough locations. But I mean, we do have a lot of green, and I don't know how that compares to other municipalities in the area, but I think it is something just to note that by and large, we do have some streets in very good condition in town here as well. And I think we've been very proactive in trying to catch up on the road work over the last decade plus, and also some of the sidewalk work after that. Well, that 1 year, I think we didn't do anything, and then we really caught up. And obviously, it's going to be a pressing need. We're certainly not going to rest on our laurels, but it is nice to note some of the good aspects of this as well. So it's good to see that map as well as noting the trouble spots and what's being done this year, right?
With that in mind, Brett, I have concerns about the north end of Edward Street, and if we can stop some of that deterioration before we have to do the entire mile-long section, it would be less expensive for us in the long run.
Yeah, and that's, I think we've all noted that, of course, driving back there, how much wear and tear is happening with all that traffic, all the truck traffic in particular. I mean, it's a great problem to have. We're thrilled to have Kriska in our north end as a great employer and fantastic corporate citizen, but at the same time, maybe we need to do something a little more dramatic back there with regards to regular maintenance and resurfacing and so forth, because it is accelerating back there with more traffic all the time. So yeah, excellent points. I think we all think of that every time we hit some of the regular potholes that we know that are back there that continue to open up. So Nathan, did you have any comment on that perhaps? Is that something that you've looked at all yet, or something you're going to look at?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Todd. So is this the area like actually on Edward? Like which specific area?
On Edward, north of Churchill.
Okay.
On Edward, north of Churchill, principally. there's
Yeah.
some bad areas in the south end as well, but the north end gets quite a pounding.
Yeah, it's an area that we're keeping an eye on. It would be a major paving project to complete portions of that. Some of the areas that that are breaking down are where the trucks come off the highway. Particularly, I guess, going back onto the highway from the Altamar up over the overpass, and we're going to look at that. And we've actually been getting a little bit of advice as well from the staff in Augusta on how to make that a very resilient area with some extra paving and some extra curbing to make that area, make it so the road's not deteriorating anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you both. A good point. And there is that one area there, of course, right where Prescott Center meets Edward, where we, consistent problem. Part of that's probably drainage, simply because of the way that wears on that north side. I'm guessing it's water that really helps that. It's obviously a lot of truck traffic, is weighing the pounding down on it. But at the same time, it may be too extensive a job, but maybe there's something that's a little more temporary, but not to the point where we've got to basically fix that every few months, which we've basically been doing. So good point, Ray. Thanks for raising that. Mr. Armstrong?
We did reach out to MTO about that intersection in particular. It's under their jurisdiction, and they said they would be sending out a crew to evaluate exactly the breakdown in that area and be able to address it.
That's excellent. Very, very good to hear. And the other thing I'll just close on, thanks to Augusta, this was one of the things in that task force that Gory and I've been meeting on lately. This was one of the low-hanging fruit options we looked at for shoulder maintenance, and what we're offering them, I guess, sort of in return, but as part of this is street cleaning out in villages like North Augusta. So we'll see that as we move forward with Augusta vehicles and so forth, doing some work in Prescott, and Prescott vehicles conversely doing some work out in Augusta. So it really shows the strength of the partnership as it's starting to evolve. So good news for both municipalities and saves us some money too. Any final comments on that resurfacing plan for this year? Councilor McConnell, one more.
A question, since you bring up that intersection in the north end of town there, I complained about the lights not working there a couple of times, and I see that they're working now, but I was told, Matthew told me, that we don't own those lights. They're Ministry of Transportation. They have control of those lights. So does the same thing extend to the pavement underneath those lights? Are we responsible for repaving, or are we not?
So I brought up that exact comment, and they said that it's under their jurisdiction in terms of the pavement. In particular, the corner where I identified where it keeps breaking apart and causing the potholes.
Aha. So presumably the north end of the high school will be pretty much where we're responsible for in that neighborhood.
Correct.
Cool. What about over the 401? What about the overpass over the 401?
That's all the MTO's responsibility.
Okay.
The only caution I'd put in there, and it's the same with when we had that issue, Lee, you remember, oh God, this has got to be 8-9 years ago now. So I think only maybe just Ray and yourself and I remember this, but we had those issues with MTO not following through on the lawn cutting side of things along that area, and we had to send our guys in. And I find it's somewhat similar here. If they're going to look at it promptly and deal with it, great. But if they're not, I think we're going to have to do some more work there, whether it's filling or whatever, because otherwise, I mean, yeah, I don't want to criticize MTO on that, but if they're going to do it promptly, great. If not, we're going to have to talk to them about it, because some of these areas, I'm not talking about full resurfacing, but just the repairs and so forth to make sure it's looked after. Otherwise, we're going to have some unhappy citizens with some flat tires and some smashed up body work on their vehicles with a couple areas right there coming off Prescott Center. But very good points. And that lighting thing is something I've talked to Matt and Nathan about that on a number of occasions, because that was out for quite some time. So good points, folks. Thanks very much for the discussion on road resurfacing. 12.2 is staff report 38-2021, and that's the 2021 Riverwalk District Clean Strategy. I'll turn it over to Nathan in a moment. I just want to thank Matt and Nathan for coming forward with this. We talked about this about a month ago and about putting something together to respond to some of the issues downtown. And they both come forward with this, this I think, a really great proactive plan for keeping our downtown core clean in 2021 and moving forward. So I'll ask Nathan again just to touch on this, because this is something else that I think citizens in town would be very interested in hearing about this evening.
So thank you, Mayor Todd, through you. So this report describes, the Riverwalk District and how it's the heart of the downtown of Prescott. It's a destination for many people that live in the community, and then also tourists. So I think during 2021, I think there's a chance that you're going to observe an increase in public thoroughfare in the downtown, both from residents and visitors, as the pandemic continues to roll through, probably summer of 2021. And day trips will be quite popular, I think, from people in the bigger urban centers that are close to us. So the goal of the strategy is to create a positive, unforgettable downtown experience for the citizens of the town and the visitors. And creating a clean and safe downtown is a fundamental goal for downtown revitalization, both for business and tourism alike. So cleaning the streets will promote and encourage clean buildings and discourage people from littering, which I think some councilors had mentioned that in the last couple of meetings as well. And it's going to be done in collaboration with the BIA and assistance from business owners. So the plan would be to improve the ownership of the cleanliness for the Riverwalk District and create processes that could carry on into future years. The downtown area that we are looking at is the King Street from East Street to St. Lawrence, Water Street from Edward to the Coast Guard Street, street portions of Center Street and George, and pathways including Riverwalk and the Heritage River Trail and the Kinsman Amphitheater. 1 to 2 seasonal employees will be chosen to maintain the area to pinnacle levels to implement various improvements throughout the summer months. I think we'll see it as a kind of a learning curve, I think, as the weeks and months go on through May to August. And we want to ensure that it's a very high level of cleanliness throughout the summer. And some of those goals would be no weeds in the cracks, no waste, no leaves, no dirt, cleaning the benches frequently, watering, maintaining the public flowers, ensuring that the clock towers, clean and been Windexed each day, and the lights all the lights in the clock tower are working appropriately at all times. And if we want to have themes as well throughout the summer, we've got some colored lights we can use, and as maybe there's some various painting that they can do as well. And the goal is to give a project to a couple of seasonal people that they really can take pride on. And have some ownership of, and then they can also document the processes that they do each week and each month, and those can be documented for further future use for seasonal employees as the next summers go on. And then to accompany them would be a one staff member from operations would be a go-to person, a champion for them, to kind of mentor them through the season. And also make sure they get the equipment and the resources that they need to succeed. And then to kind of give it the next level of I guess, importance is to have one counselor and the chief administrative officer would kind of be the clean ambassadors. So 2 people, within the community that have a really good understanding of what it should look like and how it should look. And then also be there as kind of like to coach them and praise them on the things that they've done well, and then also point out things that could be improved. And then also we look for continuous improvement from the BIA. And part of this will include a 7-day-a-week cleaning schedule as well at the splash pad in the washrooms until 7 p.m. as I think we're probably gonna have to be cleaning those on a regular basis as COVID continues through the summer months. So the other thing is that part of the downtown kind of improvement strategy is with the recent meeting at the Prescott BIA Board of Management, staff presented a pole wrap solution that provided a colorful way to improve the look of traffic lights on King Street at Edward Street, George Street, and Center Street, and St. Lawrence Street. So kind of all the main intersections. And these pole wraps it's a great way to improve the look of a really boring infrastructure, bring kind of vibrance to it and creativity. So the BIA committed $2,500 towards the purchase of an installation of these pole wraps, and that's about half the cost. And the pole wraps would be about 9 feet tall on each of the poles. And it would incorporate a design that kind of was the look and feel of the town of Prescott. And then there's an example in the report. And then the financial implications, the provision of the summer students is through May and August was included in the operational budget. So we really don't forecast a whole, a lot of extra money or any extra money for this. I think it's just going to be more of a focus priority. And the strategy would see 1 to 2 summer students dedicated to the project. And then the cost of the pole wraps is covered through the operational budget for maintenance. And then there's a map as well that accompanied it that kind of has your road clean and your park clean. And that's it.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Nathan. I just want to comment before I open it up, just on the councilor being the clean ambassador, it would strike me as the natural fit there would be Councilor Shankar, simply because Gory is the Public Works or Operations chair. And if Gory would be willing to do that, I think that's the nicest fit there. So Councilor Shankar, be you okay taking that on?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Is okay. Just we don't have the committee meetings anymore, and I want to make sure we're still focusing on that as best we can with the councilors and their responsibilities there. So yeah, that's up to me as long as everyone else is okay with it. Councilor Young, you had a comment.
Well, I'd be happy to be Gory's assistant along the way. But I wanted to ask Nathan, what is the fabric of this wrap?
That is something Matthew can weigh on. It's kind of his little project. He's really picked a winner there, I think.
Yeah, it's a really interesting.
So it's a material. It's almost like a fiber, but it's also covered in a non-stick, non-graffiti type of material. And so we do have a sample if you want to come up and feel exactly kind of what it looks like. How this originally was born was in BIAs in Toronto in particular. We're looking for ways to spruce up their poles and their areas. And so this company, Street Graffiti Solutions, came up with this wrap idea. They also have a paint idea, but the wrap, you can actually custom design exactly what you want it to look like, custom size, custom circumference, all of those types of things. And then it's fairly simple and straightforward to actually apply it to the pole. So originally when they installed the first one, the City of Toronto said, what's this? And so they went through the vetting process with both the City of Toronto and Toronto Hydro. And so it's been completely vetted from that perspective. And then really it is a nice thick material. And as I mentioned, it has this outside coating that you can't stick anything to it. If somebody does do graffiti, it's just wipe off those types of things. And so it's a really innovative product. And I believe there's about 20 BIAs now in the Toronto area that have adopted this as part of their solution, as well as across many other municipalities as well. We haven't seen it so much in Eastern Ontario, but certainly we're excited that it just provides a really nice opportunity to provide some not only information. So we would look at downtown Riverwalk District, or Riverwalk District is kind of the messaging, shop local, those types of things, but to be able to provide color to something that is traditionally in Prescott been a great pole. So,
Oh, that's great. I'm excited to hear this because normally we paint that. We paint those poles every few years, and it seems to me we no sooner paint one and somebody puts up a garage sale sign, and when it comes down, so does the paint come off with the tape. So yeah, this might be a great solution. I like it.
this has a very pebbly surface to it, and so tape will not stick to it.
Good.
The only thing I was going to note there, as I was mentioning before Mr. Armstrong explained the situation, was we were also looking at the possibility of wrapping those traffic boxes down there, which are quite ugly and very kind of intrusive as well. And I believe that was same material, similar style design, and that's another good option down there. Saves us money too in the end. Who did I see had their hand up? Councilor Burton, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. What a great idea for our summer students. We could almost put a challenge into our neighbor municipalities to see how clean their communities will be after our dedicated students will be looking after our downtown core and taking pride in it. So definitely excited to see the improvements down there. Great idea.
Very much, Councillor Burton. Further comment? Seeing none, so yeah, I just want to echo everybody's comments on it. Great plan going forward, and I think we'll see some good results down there this summer. The only added comment I would make is on cleaning in the north end, and I've mentioned this to staff on a couple of occasions. We do have a lot of garbage generated by some of those north end commercial businesses, especially along Prescott Center. That does seem to be where we have a huge concentration of litter each and every spring, and it goes on and on. We've got some wonderful people in the north end who have dedicated themselves to doing ongoing cleanup, even through the pandemic. So I want to thank them all for that. But at the same time, we need to encourage those business owners back there. Indirectly, at any rate, they're the ones contributing to the litter. They need to take a more active role there as well, around the Ultramar, around the McDonald's, in that whole area where we see a lot of single-use plastic containers. We see even worse around the Ultramar Truck Center, and we all know what I'm referring to there. So we need to get on those commercial businesses and really encourage them to help in the cleanup efforts in the north end. And if they're not going to do it, maybe we have to do it and then bill them after the fact for it, because they've got to be better corporate citizens, and they have to be part of cleaning up the town and not just helping generate the trash. So just one little comment there again. This is excellent for the downtown, but we need to look at the north end as well. And we've already talked about it, so hopefully we'll get something back from staff in the not too distant future there and how we can move forward. So thanks very much for that report this evening. And we will move along. We do have under 12.3, that staff report 39-2021. That's the 2021 Folk Fest Community Grant. Recommendation is that council approve a total of $7,500 for Folk Fest as part of the 2021 community grants. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Young, seconded by Councillor Burton. Any discussion, any comments from staff on this? This is just the second half of their grant funding, I believe. And I know we are discussing and in discussions now with Mr. Tierney about his additional events in Edwardsburg Cardinal, and we're hooking him up with Augusta because they were very much interested there as well. So really looking forward to Folk Fest this year. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I will call the question. Ray, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to point out that is the correct amount that was budgeted for this year. So it's nothing more than what we had planned to give them.
Yeah, this is just, for people watching, we asked them to come forward with a little more information for the half of the amount. So we're just sticking to the budgeted amount. So any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carried. And 12.4, staff report 40-2021 sewer modernization. Recommendation is that council approve the purchase and installation of a new host server and the associated, sorry, did I say sewer modernization? Server modernization. Recommendation that council approve the purchase and installation of a new host server and the associated software licensing in the amount of $40,237.26 plus taxes by utilizing $29,000 of the municipal modernization funding, with the remaining amount being supported by the operational budget. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Ostrander, seconded by Councillor Young. Mr. Armstrong, did you have that one? Sorry, I just got to pull the report up.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So it's time to replace our host server here at Town Hall. We are able to reutilize that one to replace the server at the fire hall, which is absolutely at the end of its life. And so we're able to kind of evergreen it and then replace the oldest server that's in our fleet. So what we discovered is when we were going through our replacement options is that we don't currently have the licensing to be able to create a complete failover. So if for some reason Town Hall was to be not available, or the server becomes corrupt or whatever it might be, if with this failover software is that you'd be able to then connect to the fire hall servers and you continue about your business. And it would be no different from, it would be seamless to the end user. So that was certainly one of the concepts behind our putting forward option number 2 and the recommendation that you see this evening. Also, the server 2012 software is at its end of life as of next year and in 2022. And so even if we decide not to upgrade it at this point, we are going to have to upgrade it probably next year. So if we're going to be installing a new server, it makes sense to also install the new operating system and software to be able to make that server work, while at the same time also addressing our disaster recovery plan to make it seamless between the two organizations. Same issue if the fire hall server was to become inoperational or unavailable, then those users would connect over to town hall and it would be seamless for them as well. So we also have a third line of defense, and that being a complete cloud backup that occurs. And so if again those 2 servers were become inoperational, then you'd be able to access information and programs from the cloud. That being said, that's our last line of defense, and also not something that you necessarily want to start working in a live environment from your backups, because that means you're going to have to restore all of that live data back into the live environment when it does become available. So certainly this is goes a long way to improving our failover and our disaster recovery, but at the same time addressing just updating that server and being able to move forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Open it up for discussion and start with Councillor Young.
Thank you. Matthew, is there a reason we don't take the entire amount out of the modernization fund?
I had anticipated that we would be replacing that server this year, just not necessarily all of the software along with it. And so absolutely, it could be pulled from the modernization fund, but we do have an amount that we put in the budget every year for regular replacement of our computer network and peripherals.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Young. Any further comments on this item? I've got Councillor McConnell, then Ostrander and Jansman. Boy, you guys are really interested in the server. Okay, starting off, Councillor McConnell.
I'm not very technically inclined, so it's going to be a very short question here, but I'm a little confused. Am I still here? My screen went blank. Okay. I'm a little confused. Matthew indicated that our server's end of life was next year, even if we don't replace it this year. And yet we're going to take it to the fire hall to replace one of those that's at the end of life. So if ours is at the end of life next year, I don't understand why we would be sending it to the fire hall.
Sorry, it just as a point of clarification through you, Mr. Mayor, it's just the software that's end of life on the server that we'd be moving to the fire hall, not the hardware itself. So it once the software is updated on that server that we're moving over, it will be good to go for another several years.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor McConnell?
No, as I said, I'm not very technical. That was a reasonable explanation. I'm happy with that.
Thank you very much. I think I had Councillor Ostrander next and then Councillor Jansman.
Yeah, just to Matthew, I take it that changeover is fairly imminent coming up soon. Is that what we're saying?
So we would get this ordered, and there's a fair amount of work in terms of installing the software and getting it all upgraded, but absolutely we would get this done before probably 3 or 4 months from now, and then we have no risk of having any of our software that's not out of date.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both. Councillor Jansman, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Matthew, we're able to use the modernization funding even in part because it's for disaster, it's part of our disaster plan?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we can use the modernization funding for absolutely anything. And so what a lot of municipalities did is look at their network infrastructure, their hardware, their software, and be able to use it from that perspective. I felt it really spoke to modernization because we were dealing with the disaster recovery plan and being able to make sure that we're addressing that. And so that's why I kind of parsed off that portion of it and being able to support it through that funding.
Very good. Thank you. That's a smart idea.
Thank you both very much. Any final comments? Seeing none, I will call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. And that gets us through staff reports this evening. 13 resolutions. This is an item that's come back to us a couple times now for final resolution tonight. So under 13.1, it's a cannabis license holder notification to municipalities. So this resolution reads, I'll do this as quickly as possible. Recommendation where the government of Canada introduced Bill C-45, the Cannabis Act, to create the foundation for a comprehensive national framework to provide restricted access to regulated cannabis and to control its production, distribution, sale, importation, exportation, and possession. And whereas there is no direct communication or dedicated effort to provide a communication channel between municipal government staff or police agencies for dealing with Health Canada registrations and licenses. And whereas there is a need for the federal government to enact legislation to better support local governments with management and enforcement issues as they relate to cannabis production and processing, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Prescott requests that Health Canada, 1, require federal licenses and registration for any licensee for growing, cultivating, extracting of cannabis to ensure local authorities are provided with notification of any license issuance, amendment, suspension, reinstatement, or revocation within the region. 2, provide dedicated communication with local governments, fire services, and police services. 3, provide lawful authority to police agencies to lay charges when registered or licensed operations grow in excess of the registration or license through Health Canada. And 4, provide enforcement support and guidance to local municipalities for dealing with land use complaints relating to cannabis. And further, that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Honorable Patty Haydu, Minister of Health, Canada, the Honorable Christine Elliott, Minister of Health, the Province of Ontario, local MP Michael Barrett for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes, MPP and Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Steve Clark, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, and all municipalities in Leeds and Grenville. Could I ask for a mover, please? I think Councillor Young, you were the one that had us bring this back. So that's moved by Councillor Young. And do we have a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Ostrander. Ray, since you did bring this forward, did you have any other comments before I call the vote?
No, I like the wording of the motion. And of course, the next thing we will deal with, it will be mentioned in the official plan. And then in the zoning as well, where this type of operation could go in the town of Prescott. So we will have some regulation on it there as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any comments, questions from other members of council this evening? Seeing none, I will call the question then. All in favor? Thanks, everyone. Motion is carried. So moving on to item 14 tonight on the agenda, that's bylaws. Do have a few bylaws to pass this evening or contemplate this evening, I guess. Let's not take anything under assumption. So 14.1 is an agreement with LAS, the Local Authority Services. Recommendation is that bylaw 23-2021 being a bylaw to authorize an agency appointment and retainer agreement with Local Authority Services, LAS, regarding natural gas procurement and to repeal bylaw 43-2017 be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Ostrander, seconded by Councillor Young. Any comments on this from staff this evening? I did have a brief talk with Mr. Armstrong about this last week. So Matthew, please.
So this is simply enacting the agreement that we discussed on the 6th of April in terms of upgrading and updating that agreement. So really that's just the enacting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Any comments, questions on that item this evening? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. 14.2, sale of surplus land. That's 555 King Street West, otherwise known as Medical Center. Excuse me. Recommendation reads bylaw 24-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the sale of land by the Corporation of the Town of Prescott to the Corporation of the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville. That land being part of lots 45, 46, 747 SS King Street, Block 3, Plan 19, Town of Prescott, designated as Part 7 on 15R 6207, being part of PIN 68162-0065 LT in parentheses. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Councillor Young. We've talked about this quite extensively lately, but Matthew, for those at home, can you just let them know in a nutshell what we're doing here and the final steps of this process that's been going on for over a year? Thank you very much, COVID.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So what you're seeing before you this evening is last year we approved the sale. We weren't able to meet the conditions due to COVID of changing or addressing the zoning that was part of the agreement. Therefore, the agreement lapsed. And as we've been able to satisfy those conditions, then brought it back again forward. Really, this is the same agreement, same amount of money, same overall concept of it, and being able to address it here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Any discussion from members of council? Open it up now. Councillor Young, please.
I just wanted to remind council that the funds from this, $290,000, I think we had decided would go into the new arena fund. Is that not correct, Matthew?
Actually, it's to support the new water tower.
That's what I meant.
You're close.
It's the water that's up in
Yeah.
the air as opposed to on the ground.
Yeah.
Water makes ice.
Sorry.
It'll be near the new rink. So
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good point for people at home, though, to know that we are contributing directly to infrastructure with this. Councillor McConnell, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. If memory serves me correctly, we had our council meetings down there for a while, a couple of years ago, and there's a plaque, I believe, inside the door referring to Dr. McPherson. Given the fact that they are probably going to be doing some extensive remodeling inside of that building, I'm wondering if we should leave that plaque there or whether we should take it with us when we go, so to speak.
Mr. Armstrong?
To you, Mr. Mayor. So we have taken the artifacts and I'll check on the plaque, but that will become part of the exhibit at the museum and being able to speak to that history.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Councillor McConnell and Mr. Armstrong. Any other comments on this sale tonight? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. And 14.3, that's the site plan agreement for 763 King Street West, previously discussed this evening in more depth. Recommendation is that bylaw 25-2021 being a bylaw to authorize a site plan agreement between the corporation of the town of Prescott and Robert and Teresa Pelda for the redevelopment of Weiser Hall, located at 763 King Street West, be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Ostrander, seconded by Councillor Shankar. Any discussion on this item? Seeing as we have already gone over this, I will proceed right to the vote then. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. So with that, we are through the bylaws this evening. We're on to item 15, new business. Does any member of council have any new business they'd like to raise this evening? Seeing none, notices of motion under 16. Does any member of council have a notice of motion to present this evening? Seeing none. 17, mayor's proclamations. Nothing tonight there. So we'll move right to 18, the closed session. We do have a couple of items there under closed tonight. So the recommendation reads that council move into closed session at 8:37 p.m. to address matters pertaining to 18.1, that's approval of the closed session minutes of our last meeting. 18.2, community awards, and that's listed under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And 18.3, purchase and sale. That's under section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and that the CAO, treasurer, clerk, interim director of operations, and deputy clerk remain in the room. Mr. Armstrong?
If we could also add the economic development officer to remain in the room as well.
Of course. So you'll just amend that at the end. So Sorry, Dana, you can't take off early tonight. You're stuck with us for a little while longer. So we'll add Ms. Valentine there to the end of that motion. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Burton, seconded by Councilor Shankar. And if everyone's okay, we'll go straight into this. I don't think we're going to be too much longer tonight, but if anyone wants a break, let me know. Seeing no, so I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We will go directly into the closed session.